Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about something that I've, noticed for a while. What I've noticed is that um, this has nothing to do with God. Today's podcast has nothing to do with God. By the way, what I've noticed is that I saw a news article recently where people, when the news article is a news article about someone dying, you know. The guy's a person that loved the person that died was a person that loved going to loved outdoors, loved the outdoors. They loved going hiking, you know, he loved going on walks, and then and it's not just regular walks. He loves going to parks where in wooded areas where no man has gone before, or places where people rarely ever go to. You know, and then one day he just disappeared. He never called his parents back. And then after like a few weeks, to like a few months, his parents got worried. They were already used to him, being gone for a while. So it took a while for his family members to react to the fact that he died. And this is what I've noticed in a while. What I've noticed is that I've read many news articles of people dying at parks, state parks, and public, these large parks. And it's funny how it's so weird where, family members, couples always take the couples always take themselves to these parks to kill the other couple. There's so many bodies always being found in these state parks that you really have to be careful, If you're a couple, if you're a couple that's having an argument, if you're a couple that always have arguments and fights, the last place you should go is a state park, because it takes so long before people end up finding out you're dead. You know, there's always concerns, by the people that live around state parks, right? Especially the national parks. The national parks are even worse. The national parks are the ones where people go on an hour walk and then just kill someone there. And it takes years, decades before people end up finding out that the person's dead. And it's happened so often that I think I've heard of people that live around these parks complaining to the government that these parks need to be searched more. And the weird part is when from the last time I read, there was news that when the park was searched more for dead bodies, they just kept finding bodies, man. There's so many bodies in these parks. So many crimes hidden in these parks, man. Spouses, whether they're their husbands or wives, when they get into argument and they want to kill their spouse, they take them to parks, to these national parks, and then they go on like hour walks into the thick wooded areas, hour walks, like 2 or 3 hours walk, and then kill their spouse there, and then come back home, pretend like nothing ever happened. So this is what you have to be careful of. If you're in a relationship with someone who's volatile, violent, or who's threatened you before, do not go to any state up or national park with them. Especially if they're the ones who's inviting you to go. If they're the ones inviting you to go to the state or national park, run. That means that there's a high chance they're plotting something. It seems like it's much easier to get away with crimes at these parks because it's hard to search where the bodies are. These parks are so large. These national parks are so large that it's hard to even find, the body. And if you can't find the body, you can't assume the person is dead. So if your spouse that's already threatening to kill you before decides out of nowhere, hey, let's go to this national park, Hey honey, I love you. Let's go to a national park. Let's go hiking. Don't you want to hike? You like hiking, right? Let's go to a national park and let's go hiking. And then the spouse, your spouse takes you to a national park and then looks for a place to bury your body. He just kills you somewhere, then bury your body there, and then comes back home. And then acts like, you traveled somewhere, That's what they usually say, you traveled. And then it may take, your family, your family members may be very worried, but as long as they don't have proof that you're dead, they can't say you're dead. Now your spouse is gonna be warned. Got to tell everybody what happened. Where did you travel to? Who knows, man? They'll tell you. Who knows? Maybe you travel to. The best thing is to say you travel to a different country, or a different state. Like 10 states away, 20 states away. That way the parents do not find out. That's usually what they do. They tell the parents, after they killed the spouse, they tell the parents, yeah, they travel like 5 states away, 10 states away, across the country. That way nobody ever went. Well, no one wants to drive across the country, randomly, right? It takes too many hours, and the flight ticket to go to go across the country, looking for you, it's just too much. It's too much hassle. So many family members would just accept that, yep, you travel to a different country. Only after years have passed would they decide, hey, why aren't you coming back home? It doesn't make sense that you travel to a different country or a different state, and you don't call your family members, you don't tell them hi, you don't say anything to them. Something's wrong. But by that time, your corpse has already rotted away, years ago. They may not be able to find evidence anymore that you died. So this is what happens to at national parks. The other thing that happens at national parks that I want to talk about on this video is people who go to these parks, just like the first guy I talked about, and then if you're someone who likes to travel like me, who likes to go to parks, you have to be careful. Some of these fruits that that you find there, some of the foods that you find there, even though it looks exactly like the food like some of the plants you find there, even though it looks like just the plant, it looks just like the plant the edible plants don't just try it and eat it. Some of these plants are very, very poisonous. You don't want to go to a park and then eat food. Eat something that you think is a blackberry or a strawberry, and then end up dying. You don't want that to happen to you. But if you go to a park, a national park, right? You spend 1 hour walking into to a wooded area, and then you eat something that poisons you to death. Your parents will never be able to find you. You'll be stuck there for eternity. It may take them too long before they find out that you're even dead. And then by the time they start searching the whole, how large a park is, before they start searching the whole area looking for you, it may already be too late, First of all, they'll not be able to find you alive. And then next thing you know, they're only finding bones. They may even find bones. There's someone who died, I watched a video, not read. I watched a video on TikTok that talked about someone who died, and literally he didn't even die in a park, right? He just died in like a wooded area where other buildings are at. Yet till this day they couldn't find his body. That is how hard it is to find bodies at parks and places. Wooded areas, it's very hard to find someone's body. The cops know he died there, but yet till this day they can't find his corpse. That is how hard it is to find some people, So do not be that person, If you're someone who likes to travel, someone who likes to go to parks, who likes to go hiking, stay away from the fruits that you see, Or if you want to try the fruits, you have to use basic survival guides, basic survival skills, Do some basic tests on the food, The first thing you have to do from what I heard, you have to do your own research on this, Don't just take from what I heard as facts. But from what I heard, if you find a food that you think it's edible, right? But you're not sure, the first thing you do a smell test. You open the food up, if it's a fruit, you cut the fruit up and smell it. If it doesn't irritate your nose in any way, and then you move to the next test. The next test is a skin test. You drip some of the juices of that fruit or food, right, onto your skin. If your skin doesn't react to it, then it's probably edible. And then if your skin doesn't hurt, it doesn't burn. There's your skin doesn't just grow rashes. It doesn't irritate you in any way. Then there's likelihood the food is not toxic or poisonous. And then the last test, if you don't do after doing the smell And a skin test is a taste test. Just touch it with your tongue. If it tastes bad, spit it out. It's poisonous. It's likely poisonous. But if it tastes sweet, then it may not be poisonous. It may be exactly the food you think, you think it is. So that's one of the basic tests you can do for foods. If you decide not to take that, do any tests, you just see a food online, you think it's a blackberry, and you swallow it. Guess what's going to happen to you? Within a few days, if you find something online, right? I mean, if you find something in the wild, and like a berry, and you eat it, within a few hours, your stomach will start to hurt, right? And if you're somewhere like in a state park or in a national park, it may take over 15 minutes, an hour to get to the bathroom. Many parks do not even have bathrooms, so you have to be careful. Some of these parks, you see the bathroom, but they're actually locked. So you may see the bathroom there, but if you go to a park, right? If you think you're going to use the bathroom, check whether the bathroom is locked or not, because you may be disappointed if you end up need to use the bathroom. You got to pee or something, and then you go to the bathroom that you thought was open, and you try to open it, end up finding out it's locked. Now you got to find now you got to find a way to to pee or poop. And some parks are so remote, you have to drive like an hour before you get to any buildings. So if you want to if you want to play that game, you just have to know that there are many parks that don't have any public restrooms that you can use. So you have to be very careful. So one of the scenarios is that if you eat something in the wild, is that your stomach starts hurting, right? Your stomach starts hurting, and then you realize you're an hour away from your car, and you still got to drive home. And the park buildings, there's no restroom, there's no bathroom in the park building. So what do you think you'll have to do? You have no choice but to use the bathroom there, in the wild. And then you sit down and start using the bathroom, right? Your stomach hurts so bad you gotta poop. You gotta poop very badly. You ate something very, very bad. You thought it was what you thought it was, You thought it was a berry, a sweet berry, but it turned out to be a poisonous plant instead. And now your stomach hurts hard. Your stomach wants to poop very badly. You have no choice but to poop right now. Your stomach's not gonna wait an hour before you get home. Your stomach needs to poop right now. So you find a hidden area and start pooping, right? Then while you start pooping, guess what? Someone walks up to you. One of the random strangers who's walking on the park just walks up and just sees you pooping there. How embarrassing would you feel, when you eat a fruit, now your stomach hurts, and the only time you can you find a wooded area somewhere hidden from the trail, and then while you're pooping, someone just walks up and just looks at you, like, come on, man, the whole place stinks now because of you. And the worst part of it, they just start they whip out their cell phone and start videotaping you while you're pooping. How embarrassing would that feel, While you're pooping, someone is videotaping you, talking, mocking you. Like, come on, man. Why are you pooping here? You came all the way from home to come to this forest to poop? Does that make any sense? Why are you behaving like a caveman, bro? This is so disgusting. You're so disgusting. You're so gross. I'm definitely going to take a video of you and post it online. I'm definitely going to take, a very close-up video of you that I can see your face, and then post it online and tell all my friends about it. There's no way you should be out here pooping, bro. You're so gross, bro. You could have pooped at home, but you decided to come here. Come to this forest. Come to this natural park and start pooping all over the place, man. You're so disgusting, man. And then while you're hiding from them, it just takes, after 5 minutes of videotaping you pooping, and your stomach still hurts. Your stomach hurts too much for you to stand up and run away. You have no choice but to continue pooping while the guy, videotapes you. How how sad is that, How embarrassing is that? While you're pooping because your stomach hurts way too bad. Your stomach hurts too much. You have to poop right now. While you're pooping, someone is watching you, videotaping you, taking pictures, close-up pictures of you naked, pooping. And then after like 5 minutes of him watching you, he gives up. He gets tired of smelling the nastiest poop that just pooped all over the place, and runs away with with full evidence, with full evidence of you pooping, just waiting to go home and post it online to to mock you with it. And then while you're pooping, right, you're now safe. The person is gone. You're now safe now. And then while you're pooping, because your stomach still hurts after 5 minutes of pooping, because of that stupid berry you ate, your stomach still hurts hard. And then while you're pooping, guess what happens to you? A snake crawls up, wiggles up, slithers up to you, and then bites your butt, bites your right butt cheek, because the snake is tired of smelling that nasty poop that you smell, that you're pooping all over the place, man. The snake is so tired of you coming all the way from home. You went all the way from your home to come here to his own home. This forest, this national park is the snake's home. You went all the way from your home, and came to a forest like a caveman and start pooping all over the place, man. The snake couldn't allow you to do that, man. So the snake slithered up to you and bit you in the butt. And now your butt hurts and your stomach still hurts at the same time. Now you're wondering, should I get up and run away from the snake? Or should I continue pooping? My stomach hurts too much to stop pooping. But yet now my butt cheek hurts. My right butt cheek hurts because a snake just bit me. And I can't tell if the snake is poisonous or not. Now I got to call the cops. So while you're pooping, you have the urge to call the cops because now your stomach, your butt cheeks has been bitten by a snake. So you run away from the snake while your body, you haven't wiped, you haven't done anything. You just pick yourself up, run away from the snake, and go to a different location, right? And then you sit down and start pooping again because your stomach still hurts. All that just that little berry that you ate still makes your stomach hurt so badly. You're living in a nightmare now. Your stomach still hurts, and your butt cheeks are starting to feel numb. That's a sign that that thing may be poisonous. Your stomach is starting to, your butt cheeks are starting to feel numb, but you can't worry about that right now. Your stomach hurts more, so you continue pooping while your butt cheek keeps getting more and more poisoned by the venom. So you think to yourself, since I'm already my stomach hurts and I've been bitten by a snake that may be venomous, let me call the cops. So you call the cops, right? You explain to the cops that while you were pooping, a snake bit you. And now, and tell them to hurry, hurry, hurry. But because you're still pooping while you're calling the cops, you always have to make that, you always make a weird noise every few seconds, like, Yeah, you keep making that noise, and now the cops are wondering, what is going on? Why you keep making that forceful noise like I see someone is beating you up? Are you sure? Are you sure you're pooping? Are you sure a snake bit you? You said yes. I'm currently I'm currently pooping right now because my stomach also hurts. I'm pooping and my stomach hurts and I've been bitten by a poisonous snake. Please come, hurry, hurry. You know how embarrassing it is to call the cops while you're pooping because a snake bit you in the butt. So you call the cops, you hang up, and while you're still pooping, the same snake that you ran away from, comes up to you again and bites you in your other butt cheeks. Why? Because the snake is tired of your smelly poop all over the place, man. You couldn't poop at home. You had to come all the way over here to poop. Now the snake has tracked you again from the smell of your poop and bit your other butt cheek. Now both your left and your right butt cheeks have been bitten by a poisonous snake. And after an hour of you waiting for the cops, you ended up dying in that forest because the cops took way too long to find your location. You're in a forest, man. You're in a national park. Too wooded for the cops to know where you're at. So that it took them a whole hour to find out where you are. A whole hour. All it takes is a few minutes before the poison kicks in. So because it took the cops so long, you ended up dying and falling on top of your poop. And while when the cops come and find your body eventually, they end up realizing your body is covered in poop, as if you've been playing with the poop all day. Now the cops are wondering, why did you go out of your way? You came all the way from your house to come to the forest to start pooping and playing with your poop? Does that make any logical sense? No wonder you were bitten by a snake. Who just goes out of their way to go to a forest, to a wooded area, and start pooping all over the place? And then the worst part of it is start playing with their own poop. You're so disgusting. And then they start taking a picture of you covered in poop because you fell in your own poop, because you're so badly poisoned, you fell inside your own poop. Now your whole body's covered in poop. And now they start taking pictures of you to tell your parents that, hey, your child has died. Look at him, covered in poop from head to toe, as if he's been playing with the poop the whole time. Isn't it weird that your child you came all the way from home to a forest to just play with his own poop? Don't you think there's something wrong with your child? Well, let's not worry about it. Your child is dead now. He died from a venomous snake, from the fangs of a venomous snake. And then after you're dead, right? The news catches wind of you. The news catches wind of you, and then and all the pictures that that the cops took are shown to the news to the news organization, and now they're coming to the conclusion that you went to the park to play with poop, and then you got bitten by a snake. How embarrassing is it? If you end up eating some random food, and the conclusion is that you ended up going to a park just to play with your own poop all day, and while you were playing with your poop, a snake bit you, and then you died. How embarrassing would it be, to be the only person in your entire family who died from playing with their own poop? You didn't die from the snake. No, if you weren't playing with your poop all day, the snake wouldn't have bitten you. That's the headline. So from now, your entire legacy, your entire life boils down to you being someone who played with their own poop. You went to a state park or a national park, and you started playing with your own poop in the forest. You just started playing with your own poop out there in the wilderness, and then the snake bit you, and then you died. How embarrassing it is. What do you think it is? If your entire life is boiled down to being a poop player, you're someone who played with your own poop all day. So you have to really be careful out there. Is that you never know what will happen to you. If you're someone who likes going to parks, walking at parks, going on hikes at parks, stay away from the berries and the fruits there. If you don't know what type of food it is, do not guess and just start eating it. You may end up getting the biggest regret of your life. You may end up being that person who died playing with his own poop. Because you fell in your own poop. Now the cops are thinking you've been playing with your poop the whole time, without realizing is you were poisoned to death while you're pooping. Your body was dying while you were pooping, and you ended up falling inside your own poop, and you rolled around in it just a little bit. Now the cops think you've been playing with your poop all day. You died playing with your own poop. How disgusting is that? So if you're someone who likes to go to parks, you have to really be careful of the berries out there. There are too many people dying at these natural parks and state parks. There are too many bodies of people just going there and never coming back. And not just of people, being killed there. Just regular park goers just going there to just get, just to die for some reason. Sometimes they get lost. They get lost for days, and then, and then they just die there. Or sometimes they get eaten by random animals. So if you're someone who likes going to the park, you have to be careful, Stay away from any food, any plants that looks edible. You can buy the food at home, don't worry about it. Go home and buy the food. If you don't know if the food is poisonous or not, stay away from it. If you're sure the food isn't poisonous, then do a taste test, Do a test. A skin test, a smell test, and then a taste test. And if all those fails, do not eat it. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I just wanted to give you something to think about. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.